Juzi mimi ninakuja, ninatoka nje, ninawacha simu hapo. Nikirudi kutoka raundi napata 4 miss call ya kutoka kwa bibi. Nikimuuliza ulikuwa unapiga unasema nini? Ananiambia eti alikuwa ananipigia, aniambie nimesahau simu.
Kupata missed call, bonyeza *811 *967#. Bonyeza *811
Kumbe bibi ananipenda.
On the next episode of Corner.
Daddy, tell mommy how you made me feel better yesterday.
Naona kuna kitu kinakusumbua. You can trust me.
We have to do something about Abasi. For how long is he going to get away doing things like this?
Ukitaka kujua dancing moves, unakuja weekend.
Na wewe unajuaje hayo mambo?
Dad went to the grave thinking that I'd thrown that fight. I wish he was there to see me win this time.
You've got to aim higher. Are you willing to do that?
Just you and I.
It's the Sundowner.
Mother, how are you today?
La 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 la.
Join the caravan of love, the Sunset Love, Sundowner on KBC English Service. Sundowner, celebrating love and life.
And welcome to our show tonight. You're watching Family Matters. My name is Purity Museo. Globally, cancer, or let's say cancer, is the second leading cause of death globally, and about 9.6 million deaths were recorded at least in 2018. That's according to the World Health Organization. And during this time of COVID-19, the World Health Organization has pronounced that people with pre-existing conditions such as cancer are at a risk of contracting the virus, that is COVID-19. And today, the country was celebrating the 3rd annual National Cancer Survivors Day. And the theme was celebrating life, of course, celebrating the lives of cancer survivors during this time. Let's now get to understand what cancer survivors are going through and what has changed for them during this time when guidelines on COVID-19 are essential and crucial in the prevention of the virus. My guest tonight next to me is Lucy Njeri, who is a breast cancer survivor. Thank you for coming to the show. Thank you for your time. All right. And then at the far end is the lovely Sally Agala, who is both a cervical and colon cancer survivor. We are celebrating you, Sally, and thank you so much for making time for our show tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and I know you are part of the Cancer Survivors Association today. I know the celebration was a bit different because of the coronavirus and the ban on social gatherings.
It was very different. We only were 15 of us just to mark the day and distribute a few masks and the sanitizers for the survivors.
Yeah, and how about for the other? Because I know there is quite a number of cancer survivors in the country. Were you probably taking the gifts to their homes, or what will happen?
Yes, so personally as a patient advocate, I am equally affected because I'm exposed. I already have a low immune system and I have to bring these masks to them, to their homes. So it's just by the grace of God, because we have to do it as leaders of these patients. Yeah, sure. Yes.
Lucy, thank you for coming to the show. Were you part of the celebrations today?
Not today, but yesterday we did it virtually. We had it through online because we've been told to keep distance and to mind our immunity. So today we had very few, I think 15, who went for the celebrations. Others, we did it online. But we are happy. It's our day, and at least I'm happy to say that Mutahikagwe recognized today is our day in his briefing today. Yes.
All right. And Sally, as we celebrate cancer survivors today, during this 3rd annual celebration, was the message a little bit different and linked to the prevention and taking a caution to protect yourselves from coronavirus?
Yeah, because already life has been difficult, just going through sickness. A lot of us are still going through treatment, and that already is an issue. So now with COVID, it's now even worse. And so we have to really take precautions, and a lot of people are even scared to go out of their houses, and some are calling their doctors from the homes to find out, is it really necessary for me to come to the hospital, or should I just maybe do something? And I've seen a lot of people who have to postpone their appointments, maybe from the doctor's advice, or even just their own. They feel they are not so badly off, so they can. I have 2 friends who have asked their surgeons to postpone their surgeries because it's not really urgent for them to do it right now.
Yeah. And Sally, most people think that cancer, or by the mention of cancer, that's a death sentence. You told me you're both a colon and cervical cancer survivors.
Yes.
Let's hear your story. How did it begin?
Yeah, so it began with cervical cancer in 2007, and then I had what is called total hysterectomy. That's removal of my uterus and all that. But unfortunately, after 3 years, I got a recurrence in the colon, and I got what is called a colostomy. And life has not been easy, I must say. As much as I've survived, life has not been easy. But I'm here to share my story and inspire people that life can go on even after all this diagnosis. So I survived, and I say that I lead a support group for both cervical and colon, and I inspire the new ones who come and think that, okay, now I have cancer, so what next for me? So when they hear my story, a lot of them have said, okay, if you survived, then why should I lose hope? So my message to all these people is that we should keep hope alive. It wasn't easy though, because one, I thank God that I was privileged. I was working for an organization that would pay for me my medical bills. But if I got cancer today, God forbid, I don't know how I would survive. Because one of the things that is killing people is the psychological bit. The moment you are told cancer, then the financial aspect comes in, that now, okay, I will need a lot of money, millions maybe, to treat myself. And then you start losing friends. Slowly you start losing people, because they know that once they get your phone call, you'll be asking for money. So that is one thing. Another thing is that your life changes completely. You're not able to do your work because you're going through the treatment maybe, so you're fatigued all the time. And for me, after going through colon cancer, I was left with a condition called colostomy, which I need to use a special bag every day. And it costs between 600 and 1,000 shillings. So that's another thing again. So all this put together, it affects someone psychologically. But I've conquered all this, just hearing other people's experiences, just meeting in support groups and sharing has really been my inspiration, and of course my trust in God.
All right,
yes.
And you've tried to summarize your journey with both cervical and colon cancer, but I'll be getting back to especially more on the treatment journey.
Exactly.
How about you, Lucy? You are a breast cancer survivor. When were you diagnosed with breast cancer, and what did the doctors say? Did you experience any of the symptoms that doctors say are symptoms of breast cancer?
For me, it was very different. For one, I had just stopped nursing my 1.5-year-old child, and my breast continued to produce milk, which is not normal. When you stop breastfeeding, the brain is supposed to tell the hormones to stop producing milk. So it continued for like 3 months, and then I developed a lymph node under my armpit. And the first hospital I went to, they told me it's just because you've stopped nursing the small baby, and with time it will clear. But I didn't take it lightly. I went to a second hospital, and they told me that it's fibroadenoma, some fats that are in the breast, and it's just a surgery which will be done locally, and nothing to worry about. But it hit me so hard, the reason why my mom was ailing from cancer. So I was like, let me be a bit cautious with this so that I don't mess, or it be misdiagnosed, and then later I'll be sorry for myself. Then when I went for the surgery, when the doctor went in, he said it's not what we thought it was. It was done locally, so I could hear them talking. And then they took a small piece of biopsy, and they took it to Lancet. And I was to it for 5 working days. After 5 working days, I went for my results. And she just printed and gave me the results and the envelope. What do you do? I'd been Googling, I'd been reading, I've been like, what is this that is in my breast, and I saw that it's ductal carcinoma, and I think that day I cried my whole heart out. I was not ready for it. I was not cancelled. It was just a bombshell, pap. After a while, I thought of suicide. I had seen my mom waste through the treatment, but then I decided, let me take it on. And that's when I went to Kenyatta. I was booked in for mastectomy, and my breast was removed. 6 sessions of chemotherapy and radiotherapy. And as Sally's talking about treatment, most of the people get the shock because of the cost of treatment.
Let me get to Sally, and then we talk about the treatment.
Okay.
She's talking about a bombshell. Like she was not,
Yes.
she was, the way the news were broken to her was, according to her, inappropriate. Probably you can share with us your experience and how did you receive the news that it's cervical cancer?
The same thing happened to me. Actually, I didn't have any symptom at all. So there was this campaign of, you know, women, we are told that we are encouraged to do pap smear at least every year just to confirm whether you're okay. So I didn't go, and it was just, I did go, and it was just a normal screening. And I'm called back to the hospital that, please, you have to come back. And so I went, and I'm just told you have cervical cancer stage 2, and we have to do hysterectomy, total hysterectomy. And I had lost 2 babies, so I was like, what are you talking about? But the doctor was in a rush, like, we have to do this because you already have immunosuppression and this will spread. So it came as a shocker again, and I didn't take it lightly. I went into depression, and for 2 months, I didn't want to talk to anyone, but of course, as anyone else, I went through first, second, third consultation from other doctors to see if the opinions was going to be different, but it was all the same. So after 2 months, my husband and I decided to sign the consent and go into theater, and the operation is done. But true, the way the news was broken to me was not very pleasant, and it affected me psychologically. For a very long time, I didn't recover.
Yeah.
Even now, when people talk about kids and what, we're in a support group of people who've gone through cervical cancer, so when everyone shares their experience, sometimes I break down, even after all these years. So it really affected me, but I thank God for friends and counselors who stood with me to just take me through the journey.
Yeah,
yes.
And the treatment, after the surgery, of course, the doctors had assured you that now you will be out of danger.
Exactly.
But again, you're talking about the cancer spreading to the colon, and now you are again diagnosed with colon cancer. After how long, after what period of time did the doctors discover that, you know, the cancer had spread to the colon?
So what happened when I got the cervical cancer, I was told that because it's just concentrated in one place, if they do that total hysterectomy, removal of everything, then I should be fine. And I was fine, actually. So I went on for the checkups. For 3 years, I was fine. But suddenly, one of the days I go and I'm told, oh, unfortunately, the cancer has recurred on the colon. So we have to take, like, and you know the doctors, the way they just talk casually, like, the colon is so long, so we'll just take like the size of a ruler and a half, and you'll be fine. And this continued, and it went to my rectum, and all this had to be removed. I didn't take it lightly, but anyway, I was told that cancer has 3 types of treatment. So there's chemo, radio, and surgery. Because you have a low immune system, we just go the surgery way. So I went through a lot of pain, but eventually, I'm fine today, 10 years down the line.
Okay.
Yes.
And you'll tell us how fine you are.
Yeah,
Lucy,
sure.
you're saying that you went into depression, but then you said you will take it up. Take us through your treatment journey for breast cancer.
Okay. When the biopsy was out and it was confirmed that it was ductal carcinoma, I was booked for mastectomy, and they did total mastectomy. So they removed the whole breast. So today, I'm a proud woman of one breast. I usually say this because we have people who don't have both. So at least I got one and I'm alive. And we have people who had both and they resisted treatment and they're no longer with us. And I went to Kenyatta for my treatment, for mastectomy, for chemotherapy. I went for 6 sessions and for radiotherapy. And for me, I had the NHIF card and it paid for me. I was very gracious to God because I had it and it was active, so it paid for me the whole treatment. But for the test, I had to pay cash. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful. If it were not for the card, I think I could be. It could be another story, because you're gone and you're told that surgery is this amount of money, and you go crazy. Where do you get the money from? It needs to be done immediately. You don't have to wait. And this issue of trying to raise money is a bit very, very difficult. So I usually encourage people, go for the NHIF card, register for don't wait until you fall sick. Do it now. And if you have it, don't complain that, oh, I've been putting money on the card, but I don't use it. I would rather that you contribute, it helps me and somebody else, rather than you fall sick, because it won't be sweet that since your salary has been cut, a chunk of money, and you're contributing and you're not falling sick, so it's unfair. No, at least you're helping somebody out there. So I did. I used my NHIF card, but for the tests and screening, it was cash. But today, I think it's a different story. But I usually advocate for people to go for the NHIF card. And when you're doing treatment and you have a small baby who is 1 year and a half, and the baby comes crying to you, the baby, of course, expects you to lift him up, but you can't. Why? Because you got a drainer and part of the lymph nodes have been removed. And you've been told by the doctors, don't overwork your left hand. If you do so, you'll get a lymphedema. So it was a bit challenging. And then you still continue to be somebody's wife. They'll ask for a shirt. They'll ask for a shoe. They'll ask for the trousers. Your kid, you have to cook for your kids. You don't stop being a mommy. You continue being a mommy. And even the community expects you to behave like somebody's wife. So if there was something that you are doing, they expect you to do, but it's not the same. It becomes very different. And from then, henceforth, I think I view life in a different way since I was struck by cancer. Very different.
All right. Sally, after they removed your uterus, they told you everything is going to be fine, and then cancer spreading to the colon. They again tell you, if we just cut this portion, you're going to be fine. Did you at some point have doubts that I think things are not getting better? You just telling this to console me, or where did you get this courage to pull through this from?
Actually, it wasn't easy at the beginning, and I just went numb when I got that information, and I was actually resisting that. How many parts of my body will be removed, because I've already lost all this, and then you're still telling me this. But I got assurance that there are people who have gone through this procedure and they are alive. But to be honest, just as Lucy said, I also went into depression. I got suicidal at some point, but after meeting many other people, then I said, okay, it's possible to live with this condition. But as a human being, of course, it really affected me at the beginning. Yeah.
And how did life change for you?
Life has changed completely. One of the things my husband took off, and I was traumatized, one. And my husband took off because now he couldn't live with a woman who can't give him children. So again, for me, I suffered stigma in that way. And now with this colostomy thing also, I have to use this special bag. It's very hard to keep disclosing to people that I'm using this bag. Sometimes you don't have it. Like now we're going to go into crisis because we get donations from Canada, and we're not sure even if it will gonna come, because we're not sure about the flights and everything that is happening now.
All right, and for you, you said that life changed completely. Let's come to now, right now, with the pandemic, coronavirus pandemic, and of course, experts saying if you have pre-existing conditions, you are at a risk of getting the infection, and and even as governments announce the people that have lost their lives, they had pre-existing conditions. How is this message to you as a survivor of cancer like? Is it kind of stressful, or how did this message that people who are being affected mostly by coronavirus have pre-existing conditions?
Wow. At first, it instilled fear.
Yeah.
Because you've been told to stay indoors. Don't move out. If you move out, be very cautious. Before I was diagnosed with cancer, I was doing Tumba business. I could go for my merchandise at Kikomba, and then come and vend around. But then after treatment, it had to change. For one, you've been told not to overwork your left hand. So I used to go for just some small merchandise and come and sell. But then with COVID, they marked open air market red. That was to say that Kikomba was a no-go zone for me since I have the existing condition. So I had to look for a means of continue to survive, because as I have just told you, nothing comes to a standstill. Life has to go on. And we can't survive on handouts. Today I'll get from so-and-so, so-and-so, but then tomorrow they'll be tired, and still they're going through the same problem, because COVID is for everybody now. It's not only for us, it's for everybody. So I had to change. And then I started going for sweet potatoes at Mudurwa at around 9, when the place is not densely populated. And then I come and sell in Kiambu, particularly I stay in Kirigiti. I got a small place, and that's where I vend my sweet potatoes. And I'm grateful I'm alive today. There are so many things that I would love and I would have wished, but I'm always grateful for each day. It's a new day for me. Each day is a blessing for me, because we've been told to count your blessing day by day. I could not have just stayed, and because when hunger comes, it doesn't know the boundaries, doesn't know that you have a condition or you don't have a condition. When your children demand for food, you have to put food on the table. And here you are fearing if you go out, you might catch the disease. But if you stay in, still you'll be hungry, you'll die of starvation. So I went out, but well-wishers have been reaching out to people. Let me say that. Well-wishers have been reaching out to people, and they have been giving out food. Personally, I'm also in a support group by the name CAC, and they've reached out to people, and they've given food. The women group in my church, CWA, they reached out. At least, you see, you are receiving a small support from those people, and you feel that those people are encouraging you. At least they're uplifting you. You don't remain that since you have the condition, you just stay there. No, they're uplifting you, and that shows that they are holding you back to the society. And when it comes to that, I was thinking the government should include all cancer patients for people living with disability.
Okay, we'll get back to that. Sally, you had mentioned that for colon cancer survivors, life somehow changes. You talked about Stoma bags. Probably you can make us understand when you go through the colon cancer and now you have to get a portion of your colon cut. The issue of stoma bags, many people don't understand what exactly changes, and how do you use these stoma bags? Can you explain a little on that?
Yeah, so as we understand from biology is that the colon is the way for the passage of stool, and it comes out through the rectum. So if this section is affected by cancer, then that part is cut. So it means that the stool will not go through the same way. So a new way of the stool has to be created, and that new way is called a stoma. So what happens is that the surgeon makes a hole through the body and brings out the intestine and sutures it on top of the skin to make a new hole for the passage of stool. So because it's not the normal way, it has to be covered all the time with a stoma bag. And maybe I'll show it later. So that hole has to be covered with the stoma bag.
Maybe
So
you can show as we explain?
Yes, I'll show that.
All right.
So that stoma bag has to be attached to the body 24/7. And that's what I'm talking about. That applies, we don't have it in the country. What we have from KEMSA it's not very good quality, and a lot of people are not able to use it. So we get very quality bags from friends in Canada. And now with this COVID, I recently spoke to them, and they said they're not sure if they're gonna send them. And that means very soon we're going to go into crisis. And as a patient advocate, I don't know where I'll hide, because everyone will be calling me, Sally, we need this, Sally, we need this. And so the next thing I'll say is Serikali's idea, because I can't do it, I can't handle it alone. Exactly.
So what has changed for you during these COVID-19 times and the government calling on people with pre-existing conditions to stay at home?
So for me as a patient advocate, it's not possible to stay at home, because I'm getting all these phone calls from people who are weaker than I am, so I have to reach out to them. And one thing is that the cost of transport has also changed, because now we have fewer people getting into public transport. So that means the cost is high. already life was difficult going through cancer, and now with this COVID, it has even doubled. Another thing is people don't have food, and people who've gone through cancer and all these other chronic conditions, their immunity is low, so you have to eat well, and you shouldn't miss a meal. And you find that because people can't go out to work and put food on the table, that's another thing. So there's a lot of emotional issues that people are going through, psychological issues, financial issues. So all this together has affected us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about the challenges cancer survivors are going through during this pandemic.
I'll take an example of myself at this particular time. I've just said that I switched to doing sweet potatoes. And that's why I was about to talk about the disability card. There is these kanjo people. They'll come, and you've just laid your ware down there, and they start harassing you. What happens? You are like, now, do I fight the disease? Do I fight the pre-existing condition? Do I fight hunger? Do I fight the kanjo people? That's why I was saying that, as Sally is saying, already she has her own form of disability. She's using the Stoma bag, and they are very expensive to buy, as you said. One cost around 700 to 1,000 bob. If the government could include us in that list for people with disability and give us the card, it will be a bit easier for us even to lead a better life. One thing about cancer survivors, we are not lazy. We work very hard. Sally is telling you she can't stay indoors because she's receiving calls from people outside. I cannot also stay indoors. I have to do something. We have our survivors that are willing to work with their hands. So if we get that card, it will be a bit easier for us to access. And still on that, for social protection, I've gone to an office to ask for bursary, and I told them that I'm alive, my husband is alive, but I need bursary for my child. And they tell me, no, we are just giving if those children are totally orphan or if they have one parent. And I'm like, no, I'm a cancer survivor, and I have this story. And they tell me, you don't look like one. So I had to remove my clothes and show them that I have got a scar, which sometimes is awkward, and you feel that your privacy is not, it is interfered with. So if I could be having that card and told them, look here, so and so, and this qualifies me, because we are very vulnerable. This particular time, we are very vulnerable, because like now, if I go out, and if she goes out, as she's telling you, she's going out for a goodwill, but then you don't know where you can catch the virus. So at least let us be put in the vulnerable people, and also be included in your jamii. If that person cannot go out to fend for themselves and they are very sick, and Sally cannot move out, let's say she can't move out, if that person was included in Inua Jamii, they could have gone and get the help there.
All right. And Sally, I know you have a Stoma bag there. You want to illustrate a little bit on how it's used?
Yeah, so as I was saying, this is what is called a Stoma bag.
Okay.
And it is used for collecting the stool. So as I said, our way of passage of stool is not the normal way. So this is the hole that the stoma goes into, or the intestine. So there's an adhesive here that you peel off this and you stick it to the body. So then the intestine goes in there, so stool comes in this bag. Once it is filled up, I have to remove it, change, and put a new one. So this is what I'm talking about. We do not have these quality bags in the country. And if you're lucky to find one, it would cost you between 600 and 1,000 shillings. How many Kenyans can afford that? And what we're getting from the government, to be honest, I'm a Kenyan and I'm not shy to say this, it's not quality. We couldn't be sitting with you here, Purity, if I had that bag that we're being given from KEMSA. So this is what we need. And also I would like to say, as a patient advocate, that the government should involve us when making some of these decisions, because whatever they're giving and whatever we need is not very nice for us.
All right. And as we wind up the show, maybe what's your call? She's talked about the challenges that cancer survivors are going through because you are being told to stay indoors. You are at a risk of getting COVID-19. So what should be done to cancer patients? She's talking about being included in the list of people living with disabilities.
Yes,
All
right. I would also echo her words and say that yes, that should happen. And even as we are talking, I'm not saying that COVID deaths are not supposed to be recognized, but I would like to say that they should also say something about cancer, honestly. They should, as much as they're saying, like for example, for cervical cancer, they say 9 women die every day from cervical cancer, and I'd like to encourage women to go for the test. But also, they should also say how many have survived, like people of us, like us have survived, so that people are not scared to go for the screening. Because you can know that, okay, there's support groups, the people who have survived. But again, as he says, we need to be included. Like when we were filling the Uduma form, I put that I had a disability, and this person was looking at me, what is the disability? I can't see it. People want to see you on a wheelchair or on crutches to see that you have a disability. Some of us, we have disabilities that are not visible. So as he says, we need to be recognized, and if possible, get that support that the government is giving to these other people who have the physical disabilities that can be seen. You know, someone looking at me wouldn't know that I've lost a lot of parts of my body. Look at her, she's beautiful, no one would tell. But we are disabled, honestly. If I didn't have this bag Purity, I couldn't be sitting here with you. Yeah.
And as we began the show, you said that you are glad the CS today was able to recognize this day for cancer survivors.
Right.
Inclusion of cancer survivors in the fight against COVID-19, would you say it's been well executed here in the country?
I must say that's not yet. A lot has not been done.
Where is the gap?
There's a gap in, I can say, in almost everything. One is the recognition. I mean, like there was that mention, and then that's it. It just ends there. For me, is what they're doing is just PR. They talk, but what is on the ground, like they usually say, is very different. We hear these talks, and like now they would say, we have Stoma bags, but what exactly is on the ground is not. So there's a lot. The recognition is not there. Yeah.
All right, we are winding up. Your final remarks, as you tell us, celebrating life was the theme for this day's annual national celebration on cancer survivors. What are we celebrating? What are you celebrating as Lucy?
Myself,
yes.
One is to be alive.
Yes.
To be alive is the greatest celebration that I have today. And to stand here and tell people that cancer is not a death sentence. We are here. The problem is that survivors don't sell. If, for instance, you brought people on wheelchairs, on clutches, very sick, the response could be very different. But now you've brought these beautiful ladies here. Do you think it is going to sell? It doesn't sell. So I'd at least like recognition for survivors. Let us be given a space. When we go out there and say that I survived this and I'm here.
And this actually means that you've gone through the entire treatment journey.
Of course.
Yes.
I've done the entire treatment journey. When we go out and say that we are here and you people can see us and you've survived this and we've gone through this. Even those people who have been diagnosed with cancer this particular minute, their notion could change. The way they see things could change. They say, oh, even those people can stand there and say that they are there. So even me, I'll fight on and take the treatment and move on. And I usually tell people, let us be positive with what we're having in Kenya. Not everybody can go to India. Not everybody. What Kenyatta is giving me, let me be positive with it and accept it, because at the particular moment is what they can offer. We may desire for more, but it is not there. And when you have a positive mind and a positive attitude towards everything, I believe things change for the better, and you'll always have the smile on your face.
Oh, what a powerful way of ending the show. Sally, your message to women out here, I know there is always a call to go out for screening for different types of cancer. As you tell us what you're celebrating today.
Yes. I would like to say that I'm celebrating life. It is a privilege to be alive, actually, after going through what I've gone through. But what I'd like to say that no woman should die of cervical cancer. Personally, when I was tested, when I was screened, I was not having any symptoms. So women, let's not wait for symptoms. Let's go early and do the test. Because if you wait, the reason why a lot of people are dying from cancer is that they wait for the pain. And unfortunately, there's no pain in cancer in the early stages. So pain only comes when now these cells are formed and they're rotting, and now you get pain. But otherwise, stage 1, stage 2, there's nothing. Like personally, I can share my experience, I didn't have any pain. So please, let's not wait for pain. And those who have already gone through it, please know that we are here. There are support groups that you can join. And let's keep hope alive.
All right.
Yes.
Don't wait for the pain.
Don't wait for the pain, because
Always
they may never be pain.
Yes, and Jerry is saying always be positive and
Right.
appreciate what you have.
Yes.
Thank you so much for those powerful words. And of course, there is some love messages and kind messages from Twitter from our viewers. Oyango Gideon is saying the testimony from Lucy Jerry and Sally Agalo can urge those who are affected from any cancer disease that they can also survive. Thank you. And then at Diadum time, you're saying, let the ladies know that we love them out here and we are proud of them.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you so much for making time for us and encouraging every person out here, women and every cancer survivors, as we celebrate your lives.
Thanks for having us.
All right. That's the end of our show tonight. It's been great having your company. My name is Purity Museo. Baranabuli has been our sign language interpreter tonight. Do enjoy the rest of your night and God bless.